right, well, welcome everyone to our seminar this evening. I'm very excited to have you all here and to talk about our program with you and answer any of the questions that you might have. I will try to keep an eye on the chat as I go through, but if there's a question that I miss, we'll definitely have time at the end to address everything then as well. So I'm excited to see what you guys share in the chat. I'll share a little bit about myself. So my name is Dr. Serena Maniotis. My last name is a little bit tricky to say, and so if you want to call me Dr. M, that's totally fine as well. I started at K-State about a year ago. I came in as the director of the MIOP program, as our two founders of the program had retired within the last couple of years. I teach most of the courses in the MIOP program. And I also teach undergraduate psychology classes and doctoral classes in IO as well. I got my undergraduate degree at Colorado State University in psychology, and I got my PhD at Pennsylvania State University in industrial organizational psychology. Okay, so I see that we're getting some participation in the chat, which is great. Definitely want to make this a little bit interactive this evening if we can. Just want to, learn more about you guys as well. I will share some poll questions in addition, and you can kind of click through those and we'll talk about those again, just to make this a little bit more interactive for everyone. I believe you all are probably on mute and without your video on, and that is totally acceptable to continue the presentation that way. But if at any point, if you do have a question and choose to maybe want to share your video or to speak, that is okay too. So I see Craig is joining us from Manhattan, so that's great. You're a longtime HR professional looking to expand your knowledge. That's great. That's great. Okay, so anyone who hasn't participated, you're more than welcome to share a little bit about yourself in the chat. I will go ahead and start working through some of the information that I wanted to cover about the program here as well. So what is MIOP? Well, MIOP stands for Masters in Industrial and Organizational Psychology. We do refer to the program as MIOP because the whole program name is kind of a mouthful, and MIOP is a lot easier to say. And if you're not familiar with IO, it's concepts of psychology applied to work, so we can understand the human experience at work, things like stress, motivation, leadership, how people work in teams, and also how to select employees, how to build performance appraisal systems, and even organizational culture and things about people in the aggregate. Ideally, we try to achieve a balance between helping individuals be successful and thrive at work, and also helping organizations be effective and efficient as well. Our program has a very strong applied focus. So most of our students that are currently in the program are full-time working professionals looking to gain some skills to further their career. And so we do talk about the science of psychology and the science of IO, but we also talk a lot about how to apply the concepts that we're learning in the program. You're welcome to bring your work examples to our class and to talk about those. If you have ideas or problems you want to troubleshoot, those are appropriate to talk about in class as well, because we do want to give you the skills that you'll need in your job, literally for tomorrow, but also for the future. Our program has been around for a little while. So I mentioned we had our two founders retire within the last couple of years. So Dr. Foligar and Dr. Knight founded the program about 22 years ago. And they had a lot of success with the program, but like I said, they retired recently. So I am the current director of the program. Our program has seen an 87% graduation rate across the course of its 22 years. The program requires 38 credit hours, and those are broken up over 2.5 years. So typically you'll be taking between 5 and 6 credit hours per semester, or credits per semester. And again, this degree is tailored towards working adults. So this works out to about 1 to 2 classes a semester, which tends to be manageable when you have a personal life, a family, and a full-time job and those things. Okay, so with that, I'm actually going to launch my poll questions here. So if you'd like to participate in those, you will see a couple of different questions, and we'll sort of talk about some of these results throughout the presentation. So the first question that you'll see is about your warm beverage of choice. I always like to bring food into the classroom. I think food is fun to talk about, and we can all talk about food. So your options there are coffee, tea, hot cocoa, or something else. I actually have some tea here with me this evening. It's a little bit late for me for coffee, but I did want something nice to drink here since I'll be talking a lot. The second question that you'll see is if you've taken a course in industrial organizational psychology before. Some of our students have, some of them have not. Not every single university has courses in this at the undergraduate level, so some people might not have, but I'm curious to see if some of you have. And also if you've taken an online course before. And then finally, your thoughts on statistics. So you love statistics, or are you a little bit nervous about statistics? Our program does have a couple of statistics courses. So I'm going to leave this up here for just a little bit so that you guys have the ability to interact with that and to mark your responses. And like I said, we'll sort of talk about your results throughout the presentation here. Okay, so it looks like for those of you who participated in the first question, we've got a couple more responses for coffee than for tea. So that seems to be the more popular choice. Always a good choice too. Okay, so in terms of the program, in more detail, we'll talk about the modality of the program and that the fact that it's blended and what exactly that means. We'll talk about the content of the classes and the program, and then we'll also talk about the people associated with the program, because I think that that's pretty important. So the blended modality, what that means is that most of our courses are offered online, but we have our summer courses in person. So for fall and spring, we have the classes exclusively online, and then we have a 2-week summer program where people come to campus and they take 2 classes during that 2-week period. Now, last year we were not able to offer that in person because of the pandemic. And this year we are also going to keep those summer courses online because of the pandemic. We put a lot of thought into that choice. We didn't take that choice lightly. We did survey our current students. We surveyed interested applicants who had applied by a couple of weeks ago to see and gauge where everyone was at. And we found that people were just not fully comfortable with coming to campus yet. And we really didn't want to require people to come to campus for our classes when we knew that folks were uncomfortable doing that. So those classes will be online this summer. They are typically in person, however. Our approach to offering those classes online is that we do those synchronously so that you can get the experience of meeting your faculty in real time, meeting your cohort in real time, and then we also do some sort of informal social events as well. So we have a couple of coffee hours that you can attend, you can ask questions, you can get help with assignments and homework, you can meet other people. We usually have a couple of fun activities planned and things like that. So we do try to make the experience pretty great, even though it will not be in person this summer. We're extremely hopeful that we will be able to continue to offer that in person again next year. Okay, so in terms of the content, it looks like several of you have not taken an IO course before, but all of you have taken an online course before, which is great. You're probably pretty comfortable then with taking online courses since you have done that before. So Our online courses, I try to make them pretty interactive. Like I said, I do teach most of the courses in the program. So I teach the fall course and the spring course, and then I teach half of the summer courses. Dr. Knight, who helped found the program, is teaching half of our courses this summer as well. Typical online courses will generally focus a lot on doing a reading from a chapter or maybe an article and then discussion board. And we definitely have elements of that in our program. I also like to include videos. So each week I will record a video for the class to watch. It's usually a presentation and a summary of some research that's pretty important to the topic that we're talking about. Those videos have interactive pop quizzes that come up in them. So sort of like the poll questions that we're doing here tonight will give you an idea and a feel for what that is like. I usually offer those for extra credit points so that people can sort of check their knowledge and see if they're retaining the information about the content. I try to make the activities and the assignments hands-on. So I try to make them applied, things that people can actually do. So I'm teaching a class in training this semester, and the assignment that students are working on right now is about development, organizational development. And so one of the things that they're doing in that assignment is talking to a leader in their organization to understand the development activities that that person has gone through in their journey to becoming a leader, and what other sort of activities and development activities would be helpful for that person as they continue their journey. So again, sort of hands-on experiential type activities. I also offer synchronous meetings for my students. You're doing that about once a month this semester. In the fall, we were doing that twice a week, but with schedules, it worked out that it's best to do it once a month this semester. And those are fairly informal, where students can meet in the evening if they're available. We can talk about class content. We can also talk about other things, how work is going, how life is going, that sort of thing. And so that's a good opportunity to get to talk with your classmates in a synchronous manner, to get to talk to your faculty in a synchronous manner, to ask questions, get to know folks. We talk about research. So we talk about what the science of psychology and what the research says about the topics that we're learning. And then we also practice. We do practice with data, how to analyze data, how to interpret data as well. Those two elements together sort of constitute the scientist practitioner model, which we try to do with the content in our program. So we learn about the research, we learn how to design studies, we learn how to collect and look at data. But then we also learn how to apply what the research says for best practices in our organizations. Finally, I think our program does a pretty good job of covering a breadth of IO topics. So we take a class in selection to understand how to get the best people in the door for our organization. We take a class on training. That's the class that we have this spring, in fact, on how to develop employees. We look at how to measure and manage performance. We look at things like motivation, stress, attitudes, leadership. We also talk about ethics and employment law, and how to make sure that things like our selection systems are in line with employment laws. And then we also talk about research methods and statistics, and how to use data to drive decision making. So it looks like on the poll question here about statistics that the majority is going with loving statistics, which is great. I really like to see that. I think that data is increasingly important in most organizations today. And I think knowing a little something about that tends to make you very marketable in terms of landing the type of job that you're interested in. Okay. So I also wanted to talk about the people that make up our program. So right now we have 3 faculty that are working on the program. So Dr. Knight, who is one of the founders of the program, and he serves as an advisor, and he also teaches half of our summer courses. Dr. Lee, who also serves as an advisor for our practicum projects, and then myself. And like I mentioned, I instruct most of the courses, and then I also advise students on their practicum projects. The practicum project is an applied project that gives you a chance to apply the material that you've learned in the classroom over the course of your degree to a real organizational problem. And that project can be pretty flexible based on the needs of your organization that you're working with and the type of problem that you're working with. But that is a good piece of applied work to help you demonstrate that you've learned the content and understand how to apply it in the workplace. You'll see consistent faces across the program. So we have a pretty small faculty group that's involved with the program. We also have a dedicated graduate student who assists with the program. So our current graduate assistant is Kylie Warren, and she is a doctoral student in IO. She is fantastic. She joined the program last year, and so I anticipate that she will stay with the program as she finishes up her doctoral degree. So I expect her to be with the program for at least another couple years as she's working on wrapping up her PhD, and she's fantastic, and you'll see her in all of your classes, and she's available to answer questions. She will occasionally hold office hours to help people with homework. She's really, really great. We also have consistent global campus support. So Julie Hunt and Ashley Knoll tend to be our go-to global campus contacts. They help coordinate our summer classes. They help get students registered for classes. They're a wealth of information and support, and they've been very consistent across the program. So you get to know people, people become very familiar, which I think is a strength of our program. We also have a cohort approach. So our cohorts tend to range from 10 to 15 people in size, and you take all of your summer classes with your small cohort. The fall and the spring classes are both cohorts together. So those are a little bit larger classes, about 20 to 30 size. But I think it's really great that you do have a small peer network. So people tend to get to know each other really well. Most of our current students actually have a cohort group text that they message each other on. And they're talking about all kinds of things, homework help, things that are happening at work, sharing promotions, engagements, all kinds of stuff. They get along really well. And I think that that's great. It's also really great networking. We also offer MIOP students the opportunity to get involved with research with our faculty and with our doctoral students. So I've invited all the MIOP students to attend my research lab. Not everyone's able to make that. It does meet during the day as opposed to evening hours, but I like to share the types of things that we're doing and get MIOP students involved in my research when possible. So as a whole, we really get to know each other really well. So I get to know students well, they get to know me, they get to know the other faculty, they get to know our graduate teaching assistant, Kylie, they get to know the support at Global Campus. And I think that overall that leads to a very positive experience for our students. So if you're wondering what the program sequence looks like if you were to join our program, well, the application deadline is April 30th. We turn those around pretty quickly, so we'll make decisions in May and let people know what our decision is on their application. And then summer classes will start this year on July 19th. Those will run for 2 weeks. As I mentioned, those will be online this summer, but they will be hosted synchronously. So we do ask that students are available to carve out about 4 hours of synchronous time per day to attend group discussion and lecture for those classes. First years will take an introduction to IO class. That would be your very first class that you take. That will really introduce you to the field, especially if you don't have a background in IO. I think having that class first can be really helpful. We also have your first research methods and statistics class offered in the summer. I think the real benefit to offering that in the summer is that you're getting that information live, and so you can ask questions and you can work with your peers on projects. And I think that tends to be pretty helpful for folks. In August, the fall semester starts. The class that we're offering this fall is performance appraisal. And then you'll also take practicum credits as you start to work on your idea for your practicum project. Then in the following spring, the class that's offered is selection, and you're again taking practicum projects to help facilitate your progress on your practicum project. Next summer, our classes will be at the end of July again, and those classes will be the second research methods and statistics class, and then a class on ethics. And then in the fall, we offer organizational psychology. In the spring, you'll take your last content class on training. Your last summer, you take practicum project credits and you finish up your practicum project. And then in that fall is typically when most of our students graduate. So that is what the 2.5-year outlook looks like. You can see exactly when you'll be taking what classes when those semesters start. Again, it's about 5 to 6 credits per semester. So fall and spring, it's 5 credits. Summer, it's 6 credits. Typical careers that our students either come from or go to after leaving the program include management and leadership, organizational training and development. A lot of our current students work in training and development. Human resources and different specialties within human resources, such as people that work with hiring and recruitment or are specialized in performance assessment. We have some folks that work in consulting. There are a lot of different types of consulting, but some might be leadership and organizational development type consulting, and then assessment and survey design. So we have a current student who works for an organization that develops surveys and delivers employee engagement surveys. Other areas that we have representation in include safety and then analytics. So business analytics, HR, and safety analytics. Industries that our students represent include agriculture, manufacturing, healthcare, tech, retail, and consulting. There are others as well. And then admission requirements. So if you've been to our website, you've probably seen this information. We do require a completed bachelor's degree. We do strongly prefer that there's a 3.0 GPA or higher in the last 2 years or 60 credit hours. If the GPA is a little bit lower than that, then you can take the GRE to sort of demonstrate that you're going to have success in our classes, that you're going to have success in our research methods and statistics classes as well. Generally, we prefer people to have some sort of background in psychology in general. It does not have to be specific to IO psychology, but we do have people that come in with degrees outside of psychology as well. If your undergraduate degree is in something other than psychology, what we tend to look for on your transcripts is taking a psychology class and doing well in that class, and then having some sort of statistics coursework as well. We do require some work experience. As I mentioned, the program is tailored towards working adults, and we do bring in a lot of applied examples. People share things that they've seen in the workplace, and so that work experience is just very beneficial, so we do require that. Often work experience is in an HR type field or a managerial type position, but not always. I think having the general work experience is the most important part there. In terms of the documents that we require for application, so we do require you to have a statement of objectives. And in that, you should talk about how the program aligns with your career goals and why you feel like this program is in line with those, why this makes sense for you. And that helps us see a sample of your writing, and it helps us see that you understand what the program offers and how that's going to fit with your goals. We do require a resume or a CV. In that, you should talk about your work and your volunteer experience. And you can also mention things like if you've been nominated or received an award and other things like that, special skills if you prefer. Unofficial transcripts from universities that you have attended. So if you have attended more than one university, it would include more than one transcript. 3 professional or academic references. We don't really give a lot of preference to a professional or an academic reference. I think the type of reference that you get sort of depends on your work experience and how recently you've maybe obtained your undergraduate degree. So if it's been a while since you were in undergrad, then maybe your references are professional references, and that's fine. And then finally, a letter of support from your employer. The reason why this is important is for those summer classes, we generally request that people take the time off to be present for those classes. Because they're being offered in a 2-week time span, they do tend to be fairly intense, and it's very hard to try to work and attend those classes at the same time. That's a little bit different when the classes are online, and I understand that some workplaces are a little bit more hesitant to give time off for those circumstances. But again, that letter of support helps demonstrate that your employer understands that you're seeking your degree and might need some time off of work for classes in the summer. This is particularly important when we have the classes in person, because that does require people to travel to Manhattan and be in Manhattan for those classes. As I mentioned previously, the application deadline is on April 30th. So if you have started that and haven't finished, or if you're not sure and you haven't started yet, you've got about a week and a half to work on your materials. And then finally, I wanted to talk about the costs, because I think it's a really important decision point, and it's good to be transparent about this. So this information is available on our website as well. Currently, it's about $29,000 for the entire program, and then we split that up in 3 payments in the first and second year, and then 1 in the final year. And you can see that the summer payments are just a little bit higher than the fall and the spring semester payments, and that's because we have more credits in the summer. So you're taking 6 credits in the summer as opposed to 5, and 5 in the spring and in the fall. When we do offer courses in person, which we hope to next summer, there are generally travel costs associated with coming to Manhattan for those classes as well. If you are interested in financial aid, Global Campus and the Student Financial Office have a great amount of resources available to you, and can answer your questions there. I've included both of those links. So there are Global Campus specific scholarships available. And then the Office of Student Financial Assistance is really great about connecting people with resources as well. And so I strongly encourage you to reach out to both of those areas if you have questions and would like to learn more. And then if you've seen our website, you can see the links to apply on the MIOP website online. There's a link here in the slides. So that is what I have in terms of a presentation for you, in sharing more with you about our program and how things work and what we do here. So I will go ahead and open it up for any questions that you guys have at this point that you'd like to ask.
Hi there.
Hi, I'm glad you're able to unmute.
I kept pushing the button and thought maybe I was doing something wrong. But what can you tell me about the difference between K-State's MIOP program and other IO Psych type programs? I know they vary in length, as I've been doing my research trying to figure out where I want to go. Anywhere from 12 months to 3 years, and lots of difference in cost and kind of methods of teaching. What makes K-State kind of the better program? And I'm somebody who bleeds purple, so it's kind of funny that I'm asking that, but I really want to know specific to this program.
Sure. So I haven't participated in any other master's programs, so it's kind of hard for me to gauge what the experience is like, but I can tell you, how we try to make our experience. The way that we have it spread out over 2.5 years, we feel like it makes it pretty manageable for working adults, so that you don't really have to give up personal life commitments and take too much time off of work to finish the degree. So that's why our program is 2.5 years. Other programs might be a little bit shorter than that, but they are potentially a little bit more condensed as well. Our program also has you complete a practicum project, which we feel is really important for helping you practice the skills that we're trying to teach you and to demonstrate to us that you've learned those skills. I also think that the size of our program being relatively small is a benefit. We've been asked before to grow our program, but we actually try to keep it about this size, because we think that it works really well in terms of getting to know people and having a good balance of students to faculty. Like I mentioned, we have a pretty small faculty group, which means that you get exposed to the faculty, and you get to know the faculty really well. So it's not just getting to know your cohort, but getting to know the other K-Staters as well. So I think that those are the benefits that we try to offer in our program. We also really stand by our blended approach and the fact that you can come to campus and get to know Manhattan. Now, I know you're in Manhattan, so you're familiar with the area, but if you're not from Manhattan, I think it's really great to actually get to come here and to see what Manhattan is like. We try to, when we meet in person, like go to Call Hall and get some ice cream, things like that. Now, like I mentioned, we're not going to be able to do that this summer, but hopefully next summer. And again, we think that that's a real benefit to our approach to teaching masters in IO.
Awesome.
Great question.
I've read somewhere with this program being a terminal degree and then other areas offering a PhD in IO Psych. Is there a path to that with K-State at some point, or is there a reason why they've selected it to be terminal, and what does that mean for someone enrolling in the program?
Yeah, so that's also a good question. The degree is terminal because it's very applied and focused, so it's meant to give you skills that you can use in your workplace immediately. We do cover the research, but it's a little bit different than how like my doctoral students cover the research. So for example, I try to summarize that to make it a little bit more accessible, where with my PhD students, like they're reading like 5 or 6 articles every week and then coming to class to discuss those. So the way that we teach the classes are a little bit different. You certainly could apply to the K-State doctoral program after finishing this degree, or a different doctoral program after finishing this degree. Every program is really different in terms of what sort of credits and classes they accept. So they'll usually ask you to provide your syllabi from the classes so they can examine it and see like, yeah, the content is about right, or, well, this is pretty different from how we teach it. We'd actually like you to retake this class. This question has come up quite a bit, and I have talked to our current department head about what we would do in that situation. And it sounds like generally your credits would transfer. So you have those 38 credits that would transfer, but you might end up taking some of the courses in the doctoral version of the course as opposed to the master's version of the course, because those are taught a little bit differently. However, the credits give you a leg up in terms of how quickly you could potentially complete the doctoral degree, because you'd have those credits.
Okay. And I assume it would be in some other area of psychology if it was at K-State, because I don't think I see a PhD in IO.
We do have a PhD in IO at K-State. Yep. So Dr. Jen Lee is the liaison for our PhD program.
Okay. I'm thinking I've answered my own question. It was probably because it's not an online course.
It is not online, no. So the doctoral course those are all going to be in person and tend to be a full-time commitment.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
I appreciate you sharing your questions and unmuting and turning your video on as well. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I will probably be applying. It's been something I've talked about and thought about for a long time. So I'll probably get that finished up here this week and get it off to you guys.
Great. Love to hear that. All right, so we've got a little bit of time if anyone else has any questions or anything that you would like to discuss.
I was just going to say, if we don't have any other questions for this evening, I want to thank Dr. Maniotis for that wonderful presentation. And I also want to thank everyone for joining us here tonight. If you're ready to apply, please visit our website at online.ksu.edu and select how to apply for detailed instructions. As a reminder, everyone who has registered for the webinar will be receiving a recording via email as soon as it's available. Finally, if you have any additional questions that we didn't cover tonight, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach me at online@ksu.edu, and I'd be happy to assist you with those questions. Thanks again and have a great rest of your evening.